Good evening, folks. This is Anthony Weeks and my colleague Gwinnett Gittins Roberts.
Hello, guys.
This is the actual official premiere of the case report and news. It is our official premiere because last week we focused on the situation that took place in Guyana. And Guyana,
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I'm sorry, St. Vincent and the Grenadine. My apologies. I don't know why I have Guyana on my mind. I guess because you're Guyanese, of course.
Because I'm Guyanese, your friend
Right.
in nearby you and
Yes,
St. Paul is Guyanese.
yes.
Guyanese is on the way.
I have Guyana on my mind. I'm in a Guyanese state of mind.
That's what happens when
Maybe
you're
I need to go to
Guyana.
maybe I need to be going to Guyana or something.
Yeah,
Who knows?
you need to. You'll
But
fit
anyway.
right in.
Anyway, so I'm really excited that we're able to kick off this evening's program, and we've been really looking forward and very excited about this evening, and for a couple of reasons. This program is designed specifically to do something that currently doesn't exist, right? When we look at the landscape of just general news, whether it's current events, hard news, or even news as it relates to, the markets, the economy, business, et cetera, you see and you know of all the major entities or media companies in that space, but you really don't see and hear specifically, or at least you don't have a household name in that space when it comes to the region itself. And
Absolutely.
so we felt it was important, right, Gwinnett, to be able to say.
Absolutely. And I'll add something else to that, Anthony. Even sometimes when you get news from the region, it's sometimes more about murder, mayhem. If you sometimes just Google the news, because it's so sensationalized, you miss the business aspect. And so that's why this is needed more than ever,
And
in my opinion.
that is such a salient point when it comes to the region. You hear all of the bad news, you get all the negativity, perception. The
Yes.
perception is, blue sky, white sand, palm trees, and then the extreme, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so we're more than just carnival, right? We're more than just carnival, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
white sand and turquoise water and blue skies.
Yep.
We are a rich, diverse region. The Pan American region, in totality, is about 1 billion people. But when you think of Latin America and the Caribbean, we're talking 700 million people. And
I never get tired of hearing you say this. Honestly, I never told you that, but I love hearing this piece.
Really?
I love it. I love it because I didn't realize I never really heard it before either.
Right.
So as much as I'm in that space where I'm talking about Caribbean business and our economic power, never really understood the dollars that are really at play here. So
you
never get tired of
you
hearing me
want to
talk
know
about
why
it.
it's such a fundamental point in me saying this. When you think of the U.S., right? The United States is a multinational, multiracial, multi-ethnic country, right? That's what we are. And you look at our collective economic power, we're the largest economy in the world. We literally control 50% of the capital market. And so our economic power is huge. When it comes to Black and Latinos, people of color, respectively, we're talking almost $3 trillion in purchasing power. So kind of wrap that around your head in your mind for a second. $3 trillion in terms, that is more than the size of some countries around the world.
Absolutely.
And in terms of population, but not really popular, but in terms of their GDP, gross domestic product. And so the reason why this is important is because it's not that we don't have the economic power. It is there. Okay, it is there by virtue of when you think of the region collectively, we're talking $10 trillion between the Latin America and the Caribbean, $10 trillion. So we know the capital is there.
Yeah.
It's the distribution of how that money is distributed across, across the spectrum.
Yep.
And so if we now understand economy of scale and how money circulates and how many times a dollar has to circulate within a certain demographic, a certain community, you understand the importance of how do you either create prosperity and wealth, or you see an exodus or an economic leakage, because somehow economically we're not the producers, we're the consumers, and so therefore
absolutely.
it's not being circulated the way it's supposed to.
And
so tonight's discussion, specifically as it relates to real estate in the United States, but also looking at the contrast of real estate in the region, is an interesting, that when you and I spoke about it, I was really fascinated by it. I'm looking forward to our conversation with our guests this evening on the program that you've lined up. And so I just really wanted to
I just want to add, before I started Caribbean American Passport News Magazine, one of our contributors who's on here, Val, she actually was a realtor, just like I was. I used to be a realtor. So that's where I'm coming from with this information. When the market crashed and I was just not making money at anything, I thought, what do I think there's a need for? And that's when I started Caribbean American Passport News Magazine, to change the perception of how the Caribbean people were viewed, because I thought it just, again, was just too much parties, and that's not who we were in our totality as a people. There was so much more economically to us, and I wanted to share that. So Val, one of our guests today, is actually a realtor who helped me to name the newspaper, one of the folks who I tapped into in the early stages of doing this. So this is full circle that we're talking.
So what I'd like to do, because obviously we will report, on the subject matter. But also, when we take a break, we'll also go to the markets. The markets are now closed, but we'll go to the markets and see how the markets perform today. But what I'd like to do before we bring in your guests, I see Wendy is there. She's looked like she's ready. She's queued up. She's ready to go. I see Val is there, but her camera is off. I don't see her camera on. So I don't know if she's still having issues, but her camera is off. She may need to turn on her camera. All right, but while you do that, let me just simply pull up, put you back screen, and then I'll pull you right back up. All right, so folks, the subject matter of tonight's discussion is really around real estate and the buying of real estate in the Caribbean and that process. But in order to understand and really kind of put things in perspective, is understanding that the Caribbean diaspora in the United States are folks that are from all professional background expertise. And so tonight we have folks from the Caribbean diaspora that are in real estate. But let's understand what is the impact of real estate on the U.S. economy. So when you think about why buying a home helps build a nation, according to The Balance, they report that real estate plays an integral role in the U.S. economy. Residential real estate provides housing for families. It's the greatest source of wealth and savings for many Americans. Commercial real estate, which includes apartment buildings, create jobs and space for retail, offices, and manufacturing. Real estate businesses and investment provide a source of revenue for millions. In 2018, real estate construction contributed to $1.1 trillion to the nation's economic output. That's a 6.2% of the U.S. gross domestic product. It is more than the $1.13 trillion in 2017, but still less than the 2006 peak of $1.19 trillion. At that time, real estate construction was the heftiest at 8.9% component of the GDP. And so real estate construction is labor intensive and a major force in job creation. You think of construction jobs, and the drop in housing construction was a big contributor to the recession, high unemployment. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring back in my colleague, Gwinnett, and then see if we're ready to go. Gwinnett, so why don't you give us an overview of who we have on the program, and then we'll bring them up and we'll take it from there.
All right. So I do know that Val is still trying to come in, and as we realized, there are gremlins at play today as well. So all of a sudden now she was connected earlier, but is not connected. So we will introduce Wendy Cohen. And what I love about the fact that when Wendy's passionate about real estate, when Wendy's not just a realtor, she's passionate about developing solutions for affordable housing. She has been actually, Anthony, I've prepared her that when it comes to talking about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and blockchain, I will just glaze over, and you and Wendy will have conversations. Wendy actually used to co-host a financial services show as well. So she really comes at real estate from an estate and business planning, the future for long-term growth, and what that means to you in terms of wealth, and how we can. Her question really is, how do we unite the Caribbean region so that everyone is able to buy and sell effectively, and we not lose wealth within the process, the transaction, right? As realtors here, that's their biggest priority. And they'll explain how they're going to protect you when it's time to do that in the Caribbean, because there's no protection like there is here.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'd like to do is let's do a quick Bloomberg break, and when we come back, we'll have Wendy do her introduction, and we'll get the conversation started. Okay, wonderful. Folks, this is the Case Report and News, and we thank you so much for tuning into the program this evening. We'll be right back.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Buyers were busy on Wall Street after the latest economic numbers pointed to a strong recovery. First-time jobless claims plunged last week. Retail sales surged in March. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 305. The S&P rose 46. The Nasdaq gained 181. Mortgage rates are taking another step back. Freddie Mac's average for 30-year fixed-rate loans is lower for a second week, falling to 3.04%. Last week's decline was the first in more than 2 months. Hyundai is entering the U.S. small truck market with a long-awaited compact pickup. Production of the Santa Cruz will start next month. It offers an open pickup bed and all-wheel drive, while still squeezing into tight parking spots. The NFL is getting deeper into sports betting, naming DraftKings and Caesars Entertainment as official sports betting partners. The league also extended its agreement with DraftKings, making it the NFL's exclusive official daily fantasy partner.
If you're a small local business and you have not yet applied for your PPP forgiveness loan, you should know the deadline is fast approaching, and you need to apply now before May 31st, 2021. To apply now, go to www.applyppp.info. If you're a small local business, all right, folks, we are back, and thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast this evening. And we are broadcasting on Tempo Network Television across the United States, throughout the entire Caribbean, in Guyana and Suriname in South America. We're also broadcasting on our sister affiliated station, both, of course, the Caribbean American Passport News Magazine, as well as on La Mega Mundial. La Mega Mundial is in 90 Latin countries. The Caribbean Passport is the largest print publication statewide in the state of Florida. So, Gwinnett, we let's bring up Wendy. Wendy is our guest, and so we will. I'm looking forward to having that discussion with Wendy.
All right. And Wendy, I know that you, of course, are a realtor. I know Val is a broker associate, right? You're a realtor. All right. We need to unmute you, Wendy.
That would
I was just thinking, Wendy's never at a loss for words. How is Wendy at a loss for words today?
Thank you so much for the cue there to push the unmute button. But yes, Valda is a broker associate, and I am a realtor. Both of us are licensed in the state of Florida. And what I'd love to share with you is just how Val and I met. And many of your readers, Gannett, know Val from over the years because not only has she been in pretty much every single publication that you have ever.
From the time the publication started 11 years ago, we're in our 11th year, Val has been an advertiser. And I've known Val from her work in the community, in the association, the Grenada Association, from as far back as I remember moving to Orlando.
Wow. She's
Yes.
been an advertiser since you've kicked off.
Every single issue from inception.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Never missed an issue.
Impressive.
And the reason why I mentioned that to start out at the gate is because her tagline is VAL, her name, value, attention, and loyalty. And I've never met anyone more loyal than Valda Branch Duncan.
Yes, very true.
A member of the community, a Caribbean community in Central Florida that could attest otherwise.
And that is why she is perfect for this outreach to the Caribbean. Because what I realized is that whatever, we don't expect you guys to know everything about a transaction in every aspect of the Caribbean, because what people don't understand is buying a house in Jamaica is vastly different from buying one in Barbados. Buying it in Belize is different from Bahamas or Guyana. So it is vastly different.
Yeah.
Now, what I know is what you guys propose doing, which is explaining to folks that when you're working with a realtor here, there are certain rules of ethics that you are held to, certain standards that you're held to. I actually did not go back for my license because I wanted to do investment. And if you're an investor, you're held to a higher standard if you're also a realtor.
Yes.
Lots of folks don't know that.
Right. So there is in the real estate investment community folks that are both licensed and unlicensed. And like you said, when you have that realtor next to your name, that R means that you are of a higher standard. You have to agree to a stricter code of ethics. Wild West does not have to adhere to. So being a sales agent is different than being a realtor. So yes, bring that out.
Well, only a former realtor would understand that.
Yes, the right way to use it is realtor, not
realtor. Yes, there's a way of saying it, Anthony. We go through intense training. Okay.
The pronunciation of it.
Right.
Realtor.
Not like a real tour.
Realtor. But there's no in the middle. But anyway,
why is that important? I'm just trying to be serious. Why is that so important?
I have a feeling that it's almost like if you didn't go through the fraternity of it all, you wouldn't know that there's such a major way of pronouncing it. So I think when we all make jokes about it, we went through that training. We were told it multiple times in that training that this is who you are.
Right. And it's something that's reiterated over and over because those code of ethics is what helps keep us acting fairly and with respect and honoring our fellow humans. So at the end of the day, it boils down to treat others as you wish to be treated. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. If we were to summarize all of the preambles and everything. There's Val. We were just on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can. Can you hear us?
I'm on the phone.
So you're hearing us.
Now I'm hearing you on the phone.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, well, the gremlins were on me too. I got buffering for quite a while there, so we made it through. So let's keep going.
And that's what realtors do.
I love that. Keep it going, huh?
I tried until we could succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Val, what we were doing was actually laying the groundwork for people understanding that realtors are held to a higher standard. There's a code of ethics that we're held to, and that makes a massive difference in a transaction. When you try to do business in the Caribbean, there's no governing body for real estate agents.
Mhm.
And so if let's say somebody cons you, all you can do is spread the word, but really and truly there's nothing that holds any agent in the Caribbean to a standard. I know, Val, you told me there was some research about is it Antigua or was it Grenada that was actually doing training for attorneys and stuff like that. So I think going forward there will be some standards, right?
Right. As far as I understand, Grenada have started it during the pandemic last year because a number of people try to get into real estate industry, and they realize that they do need to require some standards. So they are partnering with the TMCC, which is the T.A. Marisho Community College. It's like a 2-year college. And they have been offering some classes in law and surveying, etc., so that they can write and understand it.
So can I just interject?
Sure.
Because I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly.
Okay.
Because obviously, when you're part of America, you just kind of assume the rest of the world understands everything, right?
Right.
And so we have RESPA, that is the governing set of laws that make sure it protects the consumer, right? Protect buyers and sellers, right? In that process.
Mhm.
Am I hearing you correctly when you say throughout the region, there isn't, just like how you have CARICOM, the Caribbean community, as long as CARICOM has been around, there's no uniform set of rules and regulation that governs the buying and selling of real estate in CARICOM countries?
Nope. I'll let the realtors answer here. Nope.
Not all countries.
Not-
Just coming on board now.
Who's that? What's coming on board?
Not all countries are licensed. Most of them are not in the Caribbean.
Mhm.
Right.
So, which brings us to the point of how do you do business outside of the country? And what I want to share with you is that Val has been a member of an organization called Certified International Property Specialist, which is a designation through the National Association of Realtors. And that's what we want to focus on talking about today, because it's what allows you to safely do business overseas. So Val, can you tell us a little bit about?
Because to Anthony's point, there is none, and I don't think.
Yes.
I think because we operate in that space, we think people understand that, guys. But I think you guys need to pause and allow folks to understand that when
to digest that. You got to really digest that. As simple as it
people
sounds,
don't
right?
know that.
Right.
It's literally the wild, wild west. So think about it. Someone goes on a cruise, they see a sign on the side of the road, and they call the number. They thought it was a great deal. They're not protected if they're not dealing with licensed professionals, and what may sound like a deal may turn into a nightmare. We are a member of an organization called Certified International Property Specialist through the National Association of Realtors, which is similar to a international MBA in real estate, because you really get broad exposure to the different international markets. And one specialty that this certification focuses on is the Caribbean. So Val was a CIPS long before me, and she's the one who inspired me to get involved with Global. So I want her to talk about why she got involved in Global in the first place, because she preceded me and literally along to all the networking meetings. And, since then, I am now the ambassador between ORA, which is the Orlando Regional Realtors Association, and my home country of Jamaica. But it all started with Valda Branch Duncan. So I want to start with, how did she get into Global?
Why you always had to put me on the spot, Wendy?
Because we know you don't push forward, Val. So come on, let's do it.
Okay, the CIPS is a designation, as Wendy said, certified international property specialist. Joining the Global Council gives you, gives you so much experience, education, training. You have to study about the cultures of different countries. It's like a 5-day intense course. It covers many different topics from taxes, currency exchange,
Cross-cultural relations.
Gotcha. So,
right,
Yeah.
right.
because you're right.
Mhm.
Let's say a person, and Val, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Why did you think it was important for you to do that?
It's very important for me to do that because I love helping people and I love giving people the right information. And when you join the CIPS, it's not only you have a team of experts.
Absolutely.
Right. So you
And,
have a
and
network,
that's,
and you have a network, a greater network and more understanding and to deal with people from all different aspects.
and let's do an example so somebody understands. Let's say, for instance, you're trying, somebody wants to buy a property in Martinique, right? That's a French-speaking country. They might just assume, all right, well, I'll just call,
Right.
not understanding then that, of course, it's not going to be dollars necessarily. It'll have to be, those of us who actively work and do business in the Caribbean understand about how you could lose on the exchange rate, how you literally can't just, walk up to as we call them in the Caribbean, a cambio, and not be aware of the exchange rate that you're trading your US dollars for whatever that currency in that country is. Because if you're not aware, if you do it through the bank, it's this rate. If you do it, if you do it through Western Union or one of those services is a certain rate.
Right.
You have to be aware of all those things because it costs you a lot in the end if you don't have that information.
That is
Isn't that correct?
very correct. You're spot on with that. You have
Yeah. And that's just one part of the process.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Secondly, if, for instance, you go and, you might see a property, you might be thinking in US terms, this is value for money.
Yes.
Not understanding that might not be so for that neighborhood, for that country. The property values might be a lot less.
Mhm.
This is when you have to rely on experts within that country so you don't overpay.
Exactly.
Now, for those who, and this is going to probably shock Anthony, but Anthony, buying a property in the Caribbean, if I'm selling a property and I want a certain valuation, I may know the valuator and I may press to say, this is what I want out of this. Exactly.
Wait. So you're saying that, I believe you said, Wendy, it's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
So there is no rules?
There are rules, there are laws, but when it comes to pricing a property, it's the Wild Wild West.
Yes.
Right. So there are general rules that says the basic do's and don'ts.
No, I would say not in that sense. The rules that Wendy's talking about have to do with a contract and really transferring title. That's really the only part of that transaction I would probably say is most governed. Am I correct, Wendy? Val?
Handled by an attorney.
Handled by an attorney. So that's really the only part that is governed. So it's that transfer of title.
Yeah, the pricing, the marketing, and in many countries, you have pretty much anybody is marketing the property. It could be the driver, it could be the, folks at the restaurant. And what happens is you have a lot of things maybe misrepresented or not done properly. So it's very important to deal with licensed professionals in whatever country that you're dealing with. And if they have that CIPS designation, you are assured that they have at least done one international transaction and meet the basic criteria outlined by the National Association of Realtors. And that is actually an international organization. It is based in the United States, but it is international, and their rules do vary.
We're losing you, Wendy. For some reason, we're losing you. Your volume. I'm not sure why.
So
Come closer.
So what I'd like to do, we need to take a break. When we come back, I'd like to understand better, because obviously when you have so many independent markets, individual markets, countries, their own set of government, their own rules, I can see, if you're trying to get a sense, and actually, that is probably one of the biggest obstacle for investment to take place in the Caribbean. Okay, because for companies that are, it's about economy of scale, right? You have to be able to have critical mass to say, okay, if I'm going to go and invest X number of dollars in this market, I need to know, when can I see some return on my investment, and how well of an investment and how protected that investment is going to be. And so a lot of times when you're dealing with individual countries, that they're not big enough for a company to come in and say, I'm going to set up and I'm going to invest and create a big time manufacturing operation. And so a lot of times companies kind of gloss over the Caribbean because everything is so fragmented. The process is, like you're talking, is so fractured that it's complicated and it makes it difficult to do business. And so that has to change.
Yes,
it does.
That has to change. So what we'll do is when we come back, we'll take a break and come back. We'll continue the conversation. And I really want to understand. So there's this international body, and I want to understand the political capital this international organization has, because if you don't have the political capital, how do you enforce? I've seen many government arms or instrumentality, but they don't have enforceable the enforcement authority. They're it's in name, and so they can't enforce anything. So I want to better understand that, right? And when we come back after this break, we'll be right back. This is Case Report and News. We'll be right back.
This is your Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. With home prices rising so fast, a growing number of homes may not be appraising for as much as the agreed-upon sale price. Nick Bailey is Chief Customer Officer at RE/MAX World Headquarters.
If last year, for example, home price appreciation up 14.3% in a number of markets, you're moving up at over 1% a month on average. And when you look at a typical transactions between 30 and 45 days to get to closing, that appraisal snapshot, even in a 30-day window, may change by 1%. That's a significant amount on the average price of a home.
And Bailey says if you're a buyer, you need to be ready.
You have to be prepared that if the appraisal comes in at a level that does not meet the purchase price in which you were willing to make, you either don't get the loan, or you will have built in, you will pay the difference between the appraised value with cash so that you don't lose the property.
And that's your Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini.
If you're a small local business and you have not yet applied for your PPP forgiveness loan, you should know the deadline is fast approaching, and you need to apply now before May 31st, 2021. To apply now, go to www.applyppp.org.
Right now, 91 million Americans are financially overlooked. 48% have a fear of finance. 2 in 3 lack the ability to manage their finances. We solve this issue by combining financial literacy and financial management into one seamless app. 1. Have your financial goals align with your values. 2. Track your money and forecast how big decisions will impact your virtual accounts. 3. Build financial literacy at your own pace. Our competitors are rigid, disconnected, and impersonal. They represent the old way of doing finance. That's not who we are. We personalize your finances for you because we know one size does not fit all. We're democratizing personal finance.
Small business is a part of all of us each and every day. It's where we eat, it's where we shop, it's where we go to meet our friends and colleagues. In the wake of COVID-19, our small business community desperately needs our help. We must do our part to help our local communities to once again thrive. We must focus our attention on the small businesses that are the fabric of our great nation. SureUp is a network of small business owners, their employees, and local consumers all working in unison to support each other. By creating incentives for consumers to think local before considering regional and national providers to fulfill their needs, we create local job opportunities and rebuild our communities. In addition, through AI-driven tools and machine learning, in just 5 minutes a day, SureUp assists business owners in improving their social media presence, which enhances their visibility among consumers and levels the playing field so that local businesses can better compete with large, name-brand online competitors. When local businesses leverage the SureUp platform, full-time and part-time employees, whether W-2 or 1099, are rewarded with a variety of voluntary perks and member benefit options. These include discounts on the things people do every day, access to low-cost, subscription-based telehealth and teletherapy, discounted prescription drug plans, connection to exclusive Prosper resources, and so much more. All for less than the cost of a cup of coffee each day. The Jumpstart Marketplace is here to support the health and wellness of individual employees, as well as the health of businesses in the local communities in which we live and work. We're all in this together, so join us as we reinvigorate our local community and improve the physical and financial health of working America.
All right, we're back.
Welcome back to Case Report and News, broadcasting live and also broadcasting on Tempo Network Television, broadcasting on the Caribbean America's News Magazine platform. The Caribbean, we call it, when we say CAP is the Caribbean American Passport publication in the state of Florida. They're the largest state diaspora publication. And we're also broadcasting on La Mega Mundial, and we're broadcasting live on WSDX Radio, WSDX AM in the Virgin Islands, broadcasting which the program can be heard throughout the Caribbean as well as the immediate region. This evening, we have some guests with us on the program, and we are focusing on real estate. And I want to, before I get back to the discussion, I want to just kind of give people a sense. And I guess I always have to use the U.S. as an example of what we are accustomed to and the way we do things. And so the multiple listing service, better known as the MLS. For those who don't know what the multiple listing service is, multiple services is a database established by cooperating real estate brokers to provide data about properties for sale. Mm-hmm. And MLS allows brokers to see one another's listing of properties for sale with the goal of connecting home buyers to sellers. Under this arrangement, both the listing and selling broker benefit from the consolidating and the sharing of information and by sharing commission. Now, as simple as that sounds, right? And we take that for granted. What I'm understanding, and someone can correct me if I'm getting this wrong.
No, you're going right so far.
That does not exist.
It does not.
In the region.
No.
Yeah, so everything's pretty much pocket listings, meaning that somebody who knows about it, it's in their pocket, and nobody else knows about it unless they know that person.
In their pocket.
Yep.
That's
And that, yep. So essentially,
Oh my
a
goodness.
listing agent can determine who buys from them, as Wendy's explaining. They can actually hold on to your property until they determine that you're desperate enough that you might take an offer from a friend of theirs at a lower price. I'm giving you all the scenarios that actually happen, Anthony. Okay.
This thing reeks with discrimination. You can discriminate,
You can.
just
Yep.
because,
Yep. Yep.
you know, they're where the parameters. And so anyway, so
There are no parameters in that sense. In the
right.
sense that you're thinking, there's the MLS, as you said, there's no MLS. So it's really about, you will call up a few agents, or you'll know, all right, if you want to buy property in this area, you might go to the business person and ask, or a lot of times it's done through an attorney who knows that they have a property to sell for somebody or an agent, and they just cast it about, I have this one. Do you guys want to buy it? Or they'll ask a few friends first, or a few close people first.
Right.
Do you guys want it? So you're right. The fact is, I grew up half of my life in the
Can you say discrimination with a capital D? Can you say?
Do you know? This is the first time I ever really understood that there was discrimination. I looked at it as that was how it was done.
Yeah.
But some islands do have, some agents do have websites, like they have some franchise, like Caldwell Bankers or ERA. So they do have some websites that, the local real estate agents can advertise. So sometimes that is one of the
That's good because
Gwinnett, do you see why the case initiative is so important?
I look forward to this.
I can't believe we're having this conversation in
because
2021. I can't believe we're having this conversation in 2021.
Anthony, it could get so much worse, because I've been thinking about it as just sitting here, and I'm like, wait a second. The other thing is that if I just determine I just want to go back and I see this property, I want to buy it. How do I know that I'm buying it from the right person?
Right. That's a great point. One thing I'd like to say is that with international listings, how you can know that they're valid if you're dealing with a CIPS. Again, I'm referring back to that organization because it is an international organization. And you have to have minimum criteria, and you have to be licensed in order to get into it. So that helps, cut away from, some of the misappropriation that may be existing there. But you do have the ability as well to refer directly to agents in these markets now, because through Val and I, as well as our efforts with NAR and Global Counsel, we are helping agents in the Caribbean get on board with CIPS. So now I can refer you to a CIPS agent in Mexico. I can refer you to a CIPS agent in Turkey. I can refer you to a CIPS agent, and it's a peer-to-peer referral because I have vetted that agent personally, and they are locally experienced in the local customs. So that way you're not relying on me to know everything about Grenada real estate or Val to know everything about Jamaica real estate. We're connecting with those agents down there that have that high level of expertise to create this loop. Right.
And to answer Anthony's question about who is held responsible, this is where if you're dealing with Val or Wendy are taking that responsibility as an American, right?
With a license.
With a license. So that's why it's super important to maybe start that process through them, because what'll happen, all that they can count on in the Caribbean is that, or I don't know the rest of the world, I know the Caribbean, it's that you guys send a certain amount of business that way because they do not want to lose that global certification. People will do the right thing because they can be thrown out of that. That grouping, I would understand, right?
Right.
That referral source that you refer to.
Correct. Absolutely.
Good. So that's what will hold them to certain standards of conduct, Anthony. Because on this end, if I go through Val or Wendy and it is done wrong, they're my buyer's agent here. they are responsible for ensuring at least minimal standards are met, and that they've guided me to the right person. I almost like to put it like this: if you buy your ticket through a travel agent, you might go and nothing might go wrong, but if something goes wrong, you understand the value of a travel agent. At that point, if you're stranded, or if you didn't understand that this actually happened to us. We were to buy a ticket to Antigua, and the travel agent advised, use a certain airline. We found a cheaper flight. What we didn't understand was that flight did not connect when it went from St. Martin directly to Antigua. So when the flight was late getting to St. Martin, we were stranded in St. Martin, and it was not the responsibility of the airline that was going to Antigua afterwards to ensure we were on that flight.
So the moral of your story is that you need to have guidance.
Yes.
You need someone who pretty much is going to look out for your interests, someone who is going to be there when you need them, because if you try to go it alone, you pretty much are going to find yourself in a pickle, because you know where you have someone who can navigate and they know the terrain, right? They know the do's and don't, what to expect, what when you don't have a realtor on your side, you're taking a big gamble. At least in the country, I mean, they've made that case in this country that why there's such value to a realtor, working with a realtor in terms of the buying and selling of real estate.
Sure. I want to speak something to this conversation of working with a realtor, because there's a perception that, well, maybe if I do it myself, I'm going to save some money, and everybody believes that, right? And here's what they don't realize is that a true professional earns their fee. Anybody with a real estate license today can sell a house with their eyes blindfolded and their hands tied behind their backs. A real professional is going to earn their fee by increasing what the outcome is for their client, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So just thinking, well, I'm going to cut corners and save this little bit of money, it's costing you thousands of dollars, whether it's listing property or going as a buyer without representation. Why would you give up someone who has 15 years of experience and has relationships with almost every other operating broker in the country?
And what people don't realize too is that on the buyer side, and correct me if I'm wrong about the way you guys do this internationally as well, there's not a cost to you to have a buyer's agent represent you. How are you handling that for this global market?
Sure. So we only deal with listed properties or properties that have a broker agreement in place with the seller. Okay. So in order for us to list a property in Jamaica or in Belize or in working with a local professional there, and that property to appear on the international MLS, it must be an exclusive listing. So then that eliminates that pocket listing scenario that we talked about before. So it's definitely advantageous to get educated, and we're happy to explain. And we love, Val was a teacher, and her husband's a professor. So we love, and I think she has every designation offered by NAR. If not, she's going to have them one day because she loves learning.
And Andy, you probably wonder why we all speak of Val, but Val's husband actually is part of the Guyanese Association. Val was part of the Grenadian Association for the longest while, and helped. Oh, and Val, now we're really not even hearing you, so we really have to speak for you.
Well, yeah. Well,
oh no, we are.
Yeah. One of the co-founders of the Grenadian Association here.
Yeah. But we'll have her back, okay? And so we'll now that she's been christened with the program, she knows the orientation, so she's good. All right. So we look forward when she comes back. She's going to be ready with gusto. All right. I want to thank you guys for at least being part of the inaugural launch of Case Reporting News here on WSCX AM radio, on the Callaloo Network, on Tempo and La Mega Mundial, and of course on the Caribbean American News magazine. We are looking forward to the future discussion. This is just mind-boggling. I got to tell you, I just can't believe what I'm hearing from you guys. But I guess Michael Lee Chin said what he said was correct. The reason why there's good opportunities in the Caribbean, three areas that one should look at: the issue of perception and reality, inefficiencies, and access to capital. Those are the three fundamental areas that really breeds opportunity in the Caribbean. I want to thank you so much, ladies, for being part of the program this evening, and look forward to having you back on the program, because we're going to have to figure this out. This is unacceptable.
We only scratched the surface. That's so true, ladies. We really did. There's so much more.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Until next week.
Great here.
Yeah, say that again.
I say thank you. It was a great honor to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, ladies, and until next week, we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
With the Bloomberg Black Business Report, I'm Donna Wilson. As investors put pressure on big companies to increase diversity in the workplace, Pfizer announced it will place 100 young Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans into a new fellowship program over the next 4 years. Synchrony, the consumer financial services company, has joined 110, a coalition of leading companies that vows to hire 1 million Black Americans over the next 10 years. And companies that give workers paid time off to get vaccinated could get a tax credit under a new proposal by the Biden administration. The tax credit would apply to small and medium-sized businesses. On Wall Street, U.S. stocks closed higher. The Dow rose 316 points. NASDAQ gained 164. S&P rose 38. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report.
With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm John Tucker. For your small business needs, call a Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. More than 500,000 new businesses opened in the U.S. in the midst of the pandemic, with data from Yelp showing record growth for the first 3 months of 2021 as vaccinations ramped up and pandemic restrictions eased. Business openings from April 1st of 2020 to March of this year were down only 11% compared with the same period a year earlier. Yelp said in its report many laid-off workers leveraged their skills to pivot into business ownership during the difficult last year. Restaurants and food business openings were up 5% in the first quarter compared with a year earlier. Overall, states with the most rapid growth in new openings last quarter included Mississippi, Alabama, Maine, and South Carolina, places that had fewer COVID-19 activity restrictions. And that is your Bloomberg Small Business Report. I'm John.